Hey, how's it going?
Good, nice to meet you, Jay Sweet.
Hi, Jay.
Welcome to the Jazz Real Book podcast.
Okay.
Well, it's really nice to meet you. Really enjoyed your music, and particularly your last album,
Thank you.
the Surrounding Green with Drew Gress and Joey Barron. So I was wondering if maybe we could just talk about the concept of that album and the recording.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I go back, excuse me, I go back about uh more than 40 years with Joey Barron. He was on my first trio album in 1976 with Mark Johnson, 1985 with with Mark Johnson on bass, and my second one with Charlie Hayden on bass. And we played together in various bands during the 80s and have gotten reacquainted with each other the last few years. He's living in Europe, so I've been playing with him mostly in Europe. And Drew Gress and I go back to the late 80s.
Mhm.
I can't tell you how many records of mine he's on. It's quite a number. He's been my probably most consistent bassist over the last 40 years. And excuse me, frog,
Okay.
got a frog. Um, the first recording I did with ECM, I was invited to record with trumpet player Enrico Rava to make a duo album. Uh, and we did that at this amazing auditorium at the Swiss Radio in Lugano, Switzerland. Just perfect acoustics, great piano, and of course ECM, deluxe sound, all of that. And at the end of the couple of days, Manfred Eicher said, "Yeah, we should do something." And I kind of held him to it. I wrote back and I said, I would really like to make a solo album in that room, in that auditorium, with you producing with that piano. And we did that. And it came out last year called Silent Listening.
Yes.
And then I was playing with Drew and Joey in Munich, which is where the UCM headquarters are. And Manfred came to the gig, and I said, "Well, what do you think about this trio?" And he said, "Yes, let's do it." So last May we went back to the same auditorium and recorded on the stage, no headphones.
Hmm.
I realized about 4 or 5 years ago that I really can't make records with headphones anymore.
Interesting.
It's so well, you never do it in your real life,
True.
and
Mhm.
why should you play when you're almost compromised on something that's going to arguably last forever? So I'm pretty much into either recording in a space or recording live, at the Village Vanguard, what have you. Um, that's how I think I play my best. And that may limit certain kinds of projects in terms of, a size of ensembles, for instance.
Yeah.
But the plan is to make another recording with Enrico Rava in the fall and, you know, uh, things like that. So um, I noticed a lot of guitars up there.
um, I'm primarily a bass player, but I do
Okay.
I do a number of gigs on the guitar. So yeah,
Okay. Do you know who Mick Goodrick is?
of course, yeah. I was at Berkeley when he was there.
Okay. Well, ECM is releasing an unreleased duo I did with Mick Goodrick 37 years ago. And Mick, I call him the guitar whisperer, Pat Metheny, Bill Frisell, John Schofield, Julian Lage, everybody.
Sure.
And um, he died last year
Right.
of Parkinson's. And the fellow managing his estate contacted me and said, Mick always liked that record. It never came out. Give a listen. Maybe we'll put it up on Bandcamp or something, just because he recorded very little in his life, just a few
Yeah.
albums.
True. Yeah.
He was really a behind the scenes kind of guy.
Right.
And uh, so I said, well, I've got to send it to ECM because, they have to sign off on anything I do outside the label. Now Manfred wants to put it out. So
That's great.
very cool. So,
Yeah.
anyway, I have a very nice relationship, I think, with ECM. It feels like a really great place for me in my career. You know, I'll be 70. Manfred Eicher is 82. You know, we do really well with each other. Um, and he still's got a lot of energy, probably produces 30, 40 records a year still. He's crazy. Uh, but anyway, there wasn't much of a concept about the record. I mean, I came in with some tunes that I thought I wanted to play, and um, yeah, I mean, you know, the night before the recording, Drew Gress's brother died in his sleep.
Oh,
So
wow.
we weren't sure that we were actually going to record, but he decided he wanted to stay and play. There wasn't much he could do about it. Um, so I think there was a little extra something that went on that day or those 2 days,
I
uh,
would imagine. Yeah.
but I haven't made a trio album in 7 years. So, and I used to do them fairly regularly. And I had a trio that ran for about 10 years with John Bear and Eric McPherson. And then COVID came, and now I'm kind of mixing and matching bands a lot. Not, I don't have a steady trio,
Right.
but yeah, I feel nice about this. Another nice thing that I like, and maybe you have something to say about it, but you know, I'm making shorter records, 43, 45
Oh,
minutes.
that's-
First of all, you cut them in half, you have an LP, so that's great. But also, if you want people to potentially listen to something that has sort of a shape to it or a story to it, 10 tracks and 60 or 65 minutes is just too
Mhm.
long.
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned that actually, because as someone who has to review records at times, or a pleasure to do, but the first thing I look at is the time, and too much of a good thing sometimes is too much of a good thing, and I do really appreciate that about your album, and it does flow very nicely, and my listening experience with it, which I've listened to it several times and I love it, is that it functions as a record, and I'm glad that you made that conscious decision because it does seem to work for me at least.
Yeah, well, the first two pieces, when I play them in concert, Plain Song and Lawyers, they go together. And the
Okay.
second two pieces, The Surrounding Green and Payaso, I play those together as a, you know, medley if you want. Um, and so we preserve that on that sequence on the album.
Mhm.
I mean, we had other tracks, but I just thought I just want to put the strongest stuff that makes the most sense on the record, and you know, and yeah, I think it does tell a nice story.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I wanted to ask you, like, particularly about your compositional approach, maybe for this record in particular, because even as a discerning listener, I hear that there's some written material, of course, but it does have a very conversational, almost, which a lot of your music to me does, and it's almost as if some of the melodies have an improvised sort of approach to them. I was wondering how much written material is actually given on the session.
Well, like there are three tunes of mine. Plain Song I recorded as a solo some years ago
Hmm.
on an album called Open Book, and I've been playing it particularly with Drew. These Plain Song and the title track, The Surrounding Green, are what I call rubato ballads, out of time ballads.
Yeah.
And, um, you know, sometimes I hang out on a chord a little longer or move quickly between chords, but it's sort of at my whim. And Drew is really great. I mean, this is 40 years of just trusting each other. And sometimes he'll move to the next thing, or maybe I'll move and he'll catch up, or we move at the same time. It's a breathing together kind of thing,
Yeah.
you know, and I basically tell Joey kind of ignore us, just,
Mm.
you know, just you know, play what you feel. And so yeah, there's the written material is, you know, it's written out on a grand staff. It's, you know, written in four voices with
Oh, okay.
moving inner parts. Yeah, it's pretty, but it's supposed to sound what you might call improvised. And I like writing these kind of tunes. I mean, the other one on the record is Anticipation, which
Yes.
is just basic, Brazilian feel. And I have lots of different approaches to writing tunes. Um, one, so each one of these I did in a different way. The title track, The Surrounding Green, I had the title, The Surrounding Green, on a sticky on my desk, computer desktop for about 6 months. And I
Hmm,
don't know where I heard the phrase, but I liked it.
sure.
And then one day I just sat down and the tune came. Like, you know, 20 minutes. Just like, here it was.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's The Surrounding Green.
Right.
Anticipation was one of my kitchen timer tunes where I set a timer for 45 minutes and I have to complete a tune during that time. I can edit it later, but I have to get it out and done,
Huh.
like speed writing. And um, it's a tune that started out as a 3/4 tune. And then after about 10 minutes, I realized it wasn't. And it came out, I'd say, also about half hour. Plain song, uh, I was just noodling around and something grabbed me and I just reached over for the staff paper, which I always have. And that also came out pretty quickly. I mean, I think with jazz tune writing, and I may be a little old fashioned about this, but to me, the first thing is that it's memorable. It's got to stick.
Sure.
It has to have something other than just notes. It has to, you know, grab you somehow.
Hmm.
Um, it should be fun to play, and leave room for the player to make it their own.
Right.
It should be durable, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't mind all these tunes fit on a page or two. They're not epics.
Hmm.
Uh, I mean, my idols are Wayne Shorter and Monk and Kenny Wheeler and Ornette Coleman and people. I remind young jazz composers like everything Monk wrote fits on 86 pages. Everything.
Wow.
So
That's
that's like, and some of those tunes I played for almost 50 years and I still enjoy them and I still find something new.
yeah.
So that's, to me, if I can do something that's even partially that successful, I'm happy. And the choice of key makes a big difference. E major, the surrounding green, it's got the D minor for, um, as Nigel Tufnell said, that saddest of
The
possible.
saddest of all keys. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
you know, and something about the harmony reminded me of Plain which was the church music of the 13th century, 12th,
Mm,
13th, 14th century. Something about the way it moved reminded me of that. A lot of plagal cadences,
yeah.
like that. So yeah, I mean, my tune writing thing, I'm pretty old fashioned. Excuse me, I'm pretty old fashioned about.
Yeah. That, I mean, that's a couple of things. I'm very curious about this kitchen timer uh idea that you have. When did you start doing that, and like, um, and why?
Well, in the winter of 2002, I was up in New Hampshire at the McDowell Colony, which is a artist
Edward.
residence in New Hampshire.
Mm,
And I went there with a project to do, and then between the time I was accepted and the time I got there, the project kind of fell apart. Um, it had to do with getting the rights to a book to do something with, and then I was denied the rights. So there I was, the winner, and I was writing, and I was getting really, I'd write something and go, ugh, throw it in the wastebasket. And I had a baseball hat, like a cap with me, and I cut up a piece of paper into 12 little tiles, 12 little squares with the names of the 12 notes of the chromatic scale, and I put them in the hat. And I don't know why I did this, but I set a timer for 45 minutes. I shook up the hat and I pulled out a note.
right.
And so if I pulled out B flat, it could be the note B flat major, B flat minor, something that says B flat.
Mm,
I set the timer and go. And a lot of my best known tunes were written that way. Um, and the Stars, which gets covered by a lot of singers. Valentine, probably my best known tune. That came out on Valentine's Day when I picked the note D, and that came out in about 15 minutes. So stuttering, I mean, a lot of the tunes that I still play in my own book came that way.
right.
And I kind of make myself an assignment, like I'm going to write this kind of tune, or I'm going to write a tune inspired by that, or it wasn't just the note. It was like, uh, so in a way, you're kind of composing in a frame.
Yes.
You have there's a story about Stravinsky, which I'll paraphrase, where he said, um, if somebody came to him and said, Igor, we'll give you a studio, we'll cook your meals, we'll give you, you can write whatever you want. He said he would just look at the paper. But if they said, okay, we want you to write a 5 minute and 8 second piece for 12 tubas and a piccolo,
Hmm.
he would be all over it.
Yeah.
So I think I need a frame. Every once in a while, I just write something because it comes out and you go, thank you.
Hmm.
But in general, I feel like it needs to be about something. It can be about the title, it can be about the key, a rhythm, some kind of structure.
Yes.
And that helps me. I'm kind of free. I feel more free within parameters as opposed to just play whatever you want. So
Yeah, I'm so glad you shared that with me. Yeah, because it's interesting that you mentioned McDowell and the Colony because some of your music does remind me a little bit of McDowell, and I know he had a discipline of writing a tune. I think almost every morning when he was in New Hampshire, and I think even "Is It To a Wild Rose" was like came that way, and it was his wife who said that one is there's something about that one, you know.
uh, yeah,
Um, so yeah, I guess writing within that framework is a very interesting way to approach. But and also of interest is that you write your tunes in the grand staff. So you're very particular about the voicings of your tunes.
yeah. Well, something like Anticipation,
Hmm.
that's the lead sheet.
Okay.
But many of them are on grand staff as kind of usually four voice sorts of things.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, particular with the voice leading, it's not, just chords and cymbals and uh or there might be a particular bass line or something like that. But yeah, they're eh, I think writing the actual voice leading that I want instead of trying to spell everything with chord symbols and algebra
Sure.
is not, to me, I just want to see, okay, this is what the composer intended.
Hmm.
This is how he saw it. Whoever music I'm playing, I want to know what they had in mind first. And most jazz tunes are melodies and chord symbols, but sometimes it's nice to know a little bit more. Um, and and I pretty much play them consistently that same way. I mean, the voice leading is, I might change it here or there, but it's pretty much part of the DNA of the tune. So,
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and I think as as a bass player, that would be something I would really want to see, I think. I don't that doesn't happen often on sessions for me, but um to really know what the composer has in mind with more information could be very helpful, I think.
well, also with a tune like the Surrounding Green or Plain Song, um, Drew or whoever's playing bass, they need to know what's going on in the voice leading so they know when to move to the next thing.
Right.
And so, I mean, I could send you a lead sheet, but you'd see that both of those tunes, ev- sometimes every bar is a different time signature,
Mm,
or it might be 4/4 for a little while, and then a 5/8, and then a 2/4, and then 3/4. Um, but if you just count it straight down, it'll sound like it's improvised in a rubato kind of out of time way. So I just kind of keep the eighth note consistent
Mhm.
and you can actually count through it and be able to follow me and see exactly when I'm wiggling the alto voice or the tenor voice,
Yeah.
and just be able to play it with my sense of timing, pretty much the first time down or second time. So
Right.
useful
Yeah.
information in a tune like that.
Yeah, but yet to the listener, at least to me, it sounds very elastic and very uh, natural. I would never know as a listener that it was presented in that way.
Mhm.
That's really great.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, my most of my music really, uh, I mean, I haven't studied composition since I was 11 or 12.
Okay.
Um, and most of my training from like third grade to seventh grade was for voice writing, counterpoint, score analysis, writing in the style of different composers, calligraphy, which you used to do with an osmoid pen,
Yeah.
um, score copying. Um, and most of my music is really based in four voices. That's just kind of how I hear. I grew
Mm.
up listening to string quartets, singing in choirs and small vocal ensembles, playing Bach chorales, playing Bach in general.
Yeah.
Um, but this idea of four voices is kind of at the heart of most of what I do, I think. And there are times in the last number of years where I felt like, wow, jazz composition has really passed me by. Everybody's doing this super advanced kind of stuff and these long, complicated pieces and ostinatos and whatnot, whatnot. And wow, I don't even know what they're doing exactly, and I don't have perfect pitch, and oh, that's a drag. I can't really hear that.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, uh, in the last, I guess in the last, particularly last year or two, I've just come to accept that that's the way I write, and maybe other people don't do that, and so
Mhm.
maybe it's kind of my own way of doing things, and it's a little homemade and only with a pencil. Uh, I have somebody put things in Sibelius, and then
Mhm.
I can correct them and proof them, but
Right.
I don't use any kind of you know logic or any kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't know. Like I said, I mean, maybe I'm accepting more that that's just the way that I do things, and that's okay, and not to try to keep up with the Joneses.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. So do you approach the solo piano albums in the same way?
Yeah, well, with with the solo for ECM, I knew that when I recorded with Enrico Rava, we did an open improvisation that was maybe one of the best tracks on the record. It was
Hmm.
really, really good, and Enrico Rava has played with everybody. I mean, Steve Lacy, uh, Roswell Rudd, all those kind of people in the '70s. He's played with everybody in Europe. He's played with great Brazilian musicians. He's a real maestro. He's 86 now.
Yeah.
And so I knew that Manfred was interested in some open improvisations. So I came to the session with a list of tunes and also in two cases, like little squiggles, you know,
Hmm.
uh, that were sort of launch pads for an improvisation, including the title track. It's about roughly 6 bars of music on a grand staff, and it just kind of gets you into the world of
Yeah.
improvisation. That one, I actually played the material at the end again. The
Mm.
other one, I just used the beginning of the material and then just went off and ended it how I ended it. So I find it interesting that a lot of critics, they wrote about the tunes on the record, but I think the things that are most interesting about that record are the what I call spontaneous compositions.
Mm.
Those seem to be the most interesting part of it, and also some very long open intros to some of
Yeah.
the tunes.
Mhm.
Um, but Manfred really encouraged me to put that side of my playing on the album. It's not just about the tunes; it's about those other pieces. And I've started doing more of that in concert, you know, having either open pieces or long open intros to things. As I mentioned earlier, I like playing within a frame. So
Yes.
this whole just play whatever you want can be tricky. You know, there's one record that I did called Open Book that has a 20-minute open improvisation that I
Hmm.
did in a concert in Seoul for no particular reason.
Yeah.
And I liked it so much that I kept that and went back to Seoul in the same hall, the same piano, and recorded the rest of the album. And
Oh wow.
that was the centerpiece of the album. And I recorded a record around it. So uh, I've got to be just in the right space. I can't just do it on command. I have to be right in the right space. I mean, there are people who are really great at that, like Craig Taborn or well, Cecil Taylor or Keith. I mean, that can really make something out of nothing. But it
Yeah.
usually takes me being in just the right space, not judgmental, and um, there's some beautiful open improvisations that Mick and I did, like 5 little vignettes that are
Okay.
really, really nice.
And that's on the record?
Yeah, it's on the record.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really look forward to hearing that for sure.
Yeah, yeah, it's great. I'm just doing it was a 2-track recording. I'm just doing some little balance adjustments, but it's it's weird hearing myself 37 years ago. I mean, I play differently and
Right.
I think my touch changed. I was in a coma for a couple of months, and when I came out, things changed. I can't say exactly how, but I think what I do is a little more complex and a little more refined, but this had a certain energy about it
Hmm.
that was kind of great, and Mick was a very inspiring duo partner.
Yeah, yeah, I would imagine. And such a unique he has such a unique voice as well. No one sounds like Mick Goodrick, you know.
No. So I've done duos with Julian Lage, Frizzell, and Mick Goodrick.
Yes.
Pretty good
So yeah,
list.
that's a good group for sure. Yeah. So you mentioned, I know you've been very open about the coma, and I know you wrote the book, which I just ordered. And can you talk about a little bit, like, so for example, a family member of mine was just recently diagnosed with a chronic illness, and just the preparation it takes for him to perform. He's an athlete, to perform in that way. Many people talk about the technical practices, but what are other preparations does it require for you to perform living with HIV?
Well, I mean, the year that I made my first trio album with Joey Barron and Mark Johnson, that was the year I was diagnosed. So I was 30.
Okay.
I didn't make my first album as a leader till I was 30. I made a lot of sideman albums. I came up the very traditional way, learning on bandstands, apprenticing with Joe Henderson and Stan Getz and Art Farmer and Charlie Hayden and Sam Jones and all these great musicians. Then I started to branch out into my own record and uh, uh, when I was about 30. And then I had this cloud, literal cloud, hanging over me. And from 1985, believe it or not, until 2008. So
Wow.
that is a lot of years.
Yeah.
That's how many is that? 20 whatever
89.
years.
Yeah.
Um, uh, my health was really, I wouldn't say it was not as precarious as some of my friends, most of whom passed away, but it was precarious. HIV drugs we were all just trying whatever was coming along, and um, my level of viral activity was very high. I had a lot of opportunistic infections and you know uh, body changes in my body.
Sure.
Some of the medications made me feel really kind of awful, and but I I've always been somebody who likes to move forward.
Yeah.
And so really back then, like in the 90s when I was in really bad shape, if today is, the end of July and I had a gig or a tour in November, I would just tell myself, you got to be alive to do that tour. You know, you got to have something to look forward to.
Yeah.
And when I was around 40, I got my first kind of major label record
Mm.
deal with None Such Records,
Yes.
which yielded some nice projects, but also a lot of kind of songbook albums and things like that, which I like doing, but it was becoming a bit of a straitjacket. And anyway, by the fall of 2007, I was in really bad shape. I wasn't salivating. I couldn't eat. I was 10 pounds less than I am now, and I only weigh 125.
Mm.
I was on a tour in Europe, very hard trio tour in Europe. It was cold. It was like that wet cold that gets into you.
Yeah.
I wasn't eating. I was just in bad shape. And I came back in December of 2007, and my doctor said, "Look, man, you've got to put on some weight. We got to get your baseline health together. I want you to stop your HIV meds for 2 weeks and see if we can get your system stronger." Well, what happened is, unfortunately, the HIV virus got into my brain, and I had AIDS-related dementia,
Mm.
and I was really crazy, paranoid, delusional. But I was really out there. My partner Scott was at his wit's end, and
Sure.
uh, I was in the hospital for a couple of weeks and put on some very powerful antipsychotic meds. But in January of 2008, two new AIDS drugs came out just like at the right time. And so by March of 2008, my viral load, the measure of the activity of my virus, was undetectable for the first time ever.
Wow.
And I started to rally.
Yeah.
I wrote a lot of tunes. I gained weight. I was playing with energy. I played a concert, a couple concerts in California, and I came back in early June, and I just felt weak. And um, I talked to my doctor, who was actually on vacation, and the guy covering for him says, "Look, you know, if you're not feeling better by tomorrow, we'll do a chest X-ray." And that next morning, I was feeling hot, so I got in a bathtub to cool down, and I couldn't get out of the bathtub.
Right.
And basically, Scott thought I was just being, you know, a diva or something, but I said, "No, I really can't get out."
Yeah.
And we went to the hospital, and they put a oxygen sensor on my finger, and
Right.
it's like 70, and 99 is normal.
Yes.
Rushed me into triage, ventilator tube, induced a coma. They thought it would be 10 days, turned into 2 months. And in the course of the ventilating tube being on my vocal cord, when I did come out of the coma, my vocal cords were, this one was dead, and they were sort of split.
Hmm.
So you can't swallow or eat without your vocal cords being together, because it creates a vacuum that pushes the food down.
Okay.
So after I got out of the coma, I didn't eat for 9 months. I had a feeding tube. I was maybe 95 pounds. Um, and I just kept, when I was psychotic with the AIDS related dementia, I didn't want to live. I was really actively thinking how I could off myself.
Mm.
I came out of the coma, even though my life had been taken from me. I couldn't walk, talk, eat, let alone play the piano. I thought, I'm just going to come back. You know, I'm determined to come back. And I worked swallow therapy and physical therapy 5 days a week. And uh, by October, I played one set at Smalls. I was able to play a set with a feeding tube.
Yeah.
January, I was playing a quintet gig at the Vanguard. I was just not going to be knocked down. And okay, now I have a surgery so I can eat and swallow. Uh,
Mm,
but my touch at the piano changed. My
yeah.
physical relationship to the piano changed. And I can't say exactly how, but interestingly enough, listening to this duo with Mick Goodrick, uh, it's not as refined as I am now, and the left hand is not nearly as active as it is now. It's active, but
Hmm.
to the extent that it is now.
Yeah.
Um, and I've really been given another lease on life. And like I said, I'm going to be 70, so that's 40 years of living with HIV, plus all the other things that came along with it.
Yeah.
And then also living through the trauma of 14 months of lockdown,
Mm,
of no gigs.
true.
And during that time, I didn't really want to play. I was just depressed, And last summer, also, I had a full mental breakdown. I just got very depressed and stopped eating and ended up in a psych ward and a private psychiatric hospital for a month. Just the winds went out of my sails, but now I feel great. So,
Yeah.
I've had these, three kind of full stops in my career, and
Right.
every one I come back actually feeling like kind of better. So, yeah, there's a jazz pianist, Michael Wolf. Uh,
Yes. Hmm.
he went through a terrible cancer and a year of awful health like I did, and we
Hmm.
call each other TAM, tough Ashkenazi motherfucker. So,
Yeah.
they can't kill us. You know?
No, I'm of Ashkenazi
Yeah,
heritage as well. So
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
It's just,
there's something about that. Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know. That's a long-winded answer, but
Oh no, I thank you for sharing. So like when you have these kind of stops in your careers, um, when you go back, what prompts you to go back to the piano, or is it do you just feel ready, or is there a creative element that happens?
yeah, I think, well, I play a lot of solo concerts. In Europe, I'm playing a lot of solo concerts. I've made probably more solo albums than trio albums.
Hmm.
And which is kind of unusual. And it's like when I was a youngster playing classical music, I remember writing this story about, being playing my own music in concerts and dying young and kind of like Mozart kind of thing. Um, and so I'm actually doing that. I'm playing my own music as more or less a concert pianist, which is great on many levels when you're playing in a beautiful hall and beautiful piano, but it's also lonely. But I don't know about you, but the reason I got into jazz uh, after bouncing around with all kinds of stuff is, first of all, I was always an improviser, and this was a language to improvise with. But
Sure.
the other thing was that it was so cool. It
Yeah.
was totally fun, like
Right.
hanging out with weird people all night
Mhm.
and listening to records and smoking weed and just getting on the bandstand every night and trying to do something a little different. And I was self-taught, and I loved the scene. I loved the audience, the people that hung around it. The musicians in Cincinnati older ones were very generous to me, very nice. There were not kids crawling out of music schools then. That didn't exist. There was
Yes.
no jazz school at all. And I never thought of taking jazz piano lessons until I went to New England Conservatory and worked with Jackie Byard for a while.
Yeah.
Um, but it was just fun. I mean, and I think during lockdown, particularly, I just missed the social element. I really got into this to play music with people in front of people, not sitting in my room and playing Chopin etudes.
Right.
This was just, and it's just even when it doesn't go well, it's fun. You know,
Yes.
you
Yeah.
always learn something. You
Yeah.
always learn something. You probably have these nights. I have these nights where, like, wow, you just can't find it at all.
Mm.
Sometimes it's the piano or the sound or the fact that they gave the bass player a not great bass
Mhm.
or, something. It's just, but then when it's right, and you can just, you know, that's, it's what keeps me going. And I'm not composing a lot of music. I'm in a kind of consolidation phase of playing things that I've already written, or maybe adding new things that I haven't written, but in my own way. And I just, I'm kind of into the accept it and enjoy it part
Yeah.
of my career.
That's really, it's funny. Everything you said was my this was my last night. So I host a jam session, and I wasn't feeling particularly. I had this. I've done like 6 gigs in the last 8 days or something. So I wasn't feeling particularly strong about my playing. But it also reminds me about the hang that you mentioned, and I think you had mentioned somewhere I had heard or read where you said like you got part of the reason you got into jazz was that there was no age or
Right.
sexual orientation or
Or race or anything.
anything. Yeah, and it makes me think about that. Now, is that it sounds like your parents must have been supportive of your early. You must have been very gifted because you said you stopped composition lessons very
Right.
early age.
Yeah. Yeah, I was definitely gifted. I wasn't a disciplined practicer, and
Mm,
there was a lot of difficulty. My parents were not in a good relationship, and of course that filters down to kids.
sure.
My mom was the one who was more in charge of my decisions relating to my musical education, and some of those were good and some of them maybe not so good, but I was given lessons and composition and theory lessons and all that kind of stuff. But what you're mentioning about not knowing any race or sexuality or age or economic background, I really felt like when I started to play jazz in Cincinnati, I was like a member of the club. If you could play,
Yeah.
then you could hang, you could be one of the cats. And then moving to New York at 21, living in the village, living the dream life,
Hmm.
playing gigs and getting my first big sideman gigs and opportunities like that. Then I had to go through it again. Like, will they accept me as a gay person?
Right.
And um, most people will tell you, I mean, maybe not now because it's so different, but back in my day, gay people went through two adolescences. They went through the biological adolescence, uh, when you're 13, 14, 15, 16 years old. But back then, uh, all the guys I knew were chasing after girls, and I was not, and being in Cincinnati, Ohio in the early 70s, I had nobody to look to for a successful gay person. I didn't even really know what gay was. I liked boys, but that was kind of it. I felt alone in the world, like there's nobody like me. I can't find me anywhere in literature, and now there's so many role models for
Yeah.
people who are successful in all fields and out and totally comfortable. So then I had to go through another decision around 1993 to come out about being gay, but also being an artist with HIV, and people were not doing that. People were saying that'll be a death sentence. Nobody will want to book you. They'll figure you'll be dead. You'll be
Mm,
stigmatized. And I thought, well, but I may not live another year. So why not?
right.
Maybe I can help some other people and be that role model for them. That was
Sure.
a lot of the impetus for it. And I had done a benefit jazz CD for an AIDS organization, and the woman that was doing publicity for me at the time said, "I'll work this record pro bono," and it became a huge deal. CNN, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, NPR, Fresh Air, all of it,
Right.
and was quite a whirlwind of media around this. And um, in an indirect way, that led me to writing a book, some 25 years later,
Yeah.
uh, or some 15 years, 25 years later. Um, but, to tell my story, not just about trying to integrate this, gay Fred, jazz Fred, piano
Right.
Fred, you know, how to integrate that, but also uh, to let people know that uh, it's okay. Uh, I had a close friend, a young jazz pianist in Houston, who had AIDS, and I came out to him about it. He was kind of blown away. He didn't
Mm,
know, and um, his parents refused to help him while he was alive. And when he died, they had a huge memorial service for him in Houston, and his father didn't come, and his mother came in a wig and sunglasses, and they were Catholic, and he had shamed them, and they disowned him. And I knew a lot of men who counted on their biological families for help when they were sick, and they faced a similar situation. So
yeah,
another reason to come out about it is you got to know who's going to be on your team when the shit hits the fan.
that's true.
That's really, and you're going to find your support system by being open, and you're
Right.
not going to find your support system by being closeted. So I think I got to say, I think I've, maybe been the den mother to a lot of younger gay jazz musicians. And they see me and they go, "Oh yeah, Fred's doing pretty well. Doesn't seem to be a big deal." And you
Right.
they they see me, they ask about my partner. It's like I wear glasses, you don't. It's about
Hmm.
that basic.
Yeah, and like you said, I guess it really has changed a lot. I mean, I know it. It's changed a lot over time. But at the time that you made that decision, uh, that was kind of like not so common. Were you surprised by, I guess, the reaction of were there people who you thought would be accepting in the industry who weren't, or was it more just like more just embrace?
No, I didn't experience any negative reaction.
Not one.
And I did a series of four of these benefit albums, and every artist I approach says, "Yes, I'm down. Tell me where to be, and I'll be there."
Mhm. Yeah, so cool.
People couldn't write big checks, but they could donate a track, or they could donate their studio, or they
Mhm.
could donate their engineering. You know,
Right.
I think people in the jazz community want to help.
Yeah.
You're probably aware of this. When somebody gets sick, now there's GoFundMe, but people used to do fundraisers for so and so's in the hospital, and you know we don't have Bradley's anymore, or those kind of places where everybody is knows exactly what's going on with everybody else anymore. I guess we have Facebook, but there's virtual ways. But I think the I mean the jazz community is, look, there are probably some people that are, I can think of a few musicians that I feel are homophobic.
Mm,
They won't shake my hand or say hello. But maybe it's just they don't like my music. Maybe they think jazz piano should be played like Bud Powell or Sonny Clark, and I don't do that. So
right.
not everybody. If you have a strong personality musically, not everybody's going to like it. That's the thing. I mean, look, there are certain musicians, Bird, Miles Davis, whatever. You can go on.
Mhm.
Everybody universally agrees on are great. But when you start breaking it down, I mean, I've had some guitarists that I know throw a little shade on Julian Lage. I mean,
Mm,
just I don't think it helps to feel like it's my way or the highway.
sure.
You know,
Yeah.
uh, I like to play with people that are going to challenge me or make me play in a different way, and that way I grow. You know.
Yeah. But you mentioned like Bird, even when Bird was doing his thing, now everyone universally loves what he does, but not when he was doing it,
Oh,
you know?
there were the old guys, the trad guys who thought
Yeah.
bebop was the devil's music. Ornette Coleman, you listen to those early Ornette Coleman records, like "Tomorrow's the Question" or something. They
Mm,
are absolutely lyrically beautiful, amazing. Everything you love in jazz is there, and
right.
people thought he was the Antichrist because he
Yeah.
wasn't playing the changes.
Hmm.
So he played off the feeling or the melody or a different way of playing. And you know, you look at the three great revolutions in jazz: Louis Armstrong, bebop, and Ornette. To me, those are the three big
Okay.
posts. Uh, you know, yeah, uh, bebop wasn't embraced by everybody, and it also took it completely away from any kind of dance music that had
Yeah.
been
Great.
around in the 30s.
Mhm.
Fast, virtuosic. I listened to jazz at Massey Hall the other day, and
Yeah.
it's like a rock concert. People
Yeah.
are going apeshit, and
Hmm.
it's so modern and exciting.
Right.
What they say in three choruses or two choruses, Bird and Diz and Bud Powell.
Mm.
It's like I listen to that. It's like that's what I love about jazz. I love that. And if that makes me old fashioned, well then fuck it. I like to swing. I'm
Yeah.
not going to play a whole night of straight eight music in 7 or 11. I'm just not going to do that. You know?
Yeah. No, that's so true. And even at Massey Hall, that was half full, and it still had that, that vibe to it. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's cool, man. I don't want to keep you too long. You've been very generous. I could talk to you forever,
Yeah,
forever.
well, no, I have some people coming over to play at 1:30. And you know, if there's anything else you want to talk about, I'm happy to talk about it.
Okay, great. So, the story about Art Pepper, uh,
Mm.
the firing incident. Can you talk about that? It's very interesting to me.
Woo. So, I was at New England Conservatory and I was on a break. And back in my day in Cincinnati, there was one club called the Viking Lounge that brought in people for 1 week runs. Like there, I heard Pharoah Sanders, McCoy Tyner, Jack McDuff, Shirley Scott, um, Yusef Lateef, Rahsaan Roland Kirk, you know, and then 45 minutes north of Cincinnati in Dayton, there was a club called Jilly's, and I heard Teddy Wilson and Sun Ra and Bill Evans and Mingus, and you know, it was amazing.
Yeah.
But back in those days, if you wanted to hear jazz, you had to listen to a stereo with a record,
Mhm.
or you had to go to a gig. Maybe there'll be something on the radio, but in general, there were not the options that there are now. So I was back there, and a couple of friends of mine had come down from Boston to play with Art Pepper. And he had just gotten out of jail. He was in San Quentin, and he'd released a memoir
Yeah.
that was a pretty good book. And this owner of the club, Jilly, he booked him for a week. Now, jazz kind of cognoscenti know who Art Pepper is, but he's not exactly Lonnie Liston Smith or
Yeah.
Bill Evans. So big club, quartet on stage, 30 people in the audience, maybe.
Okay.
And so I went up with a friend and sitting at the table, and I could tell something was off, like something was weird. And into the second tune, the piano player, who was a guy named Ed Moss, who owned a couple clubs in Cincinnati, and he was sort of the leader of a cult of people. They all had beards and ponytails and drove
Mm.
Cadillac hearses and ambulances and
Really?
had
Okay.
multiple partners. I mean, it was a whole kind of culty thing. And he was a very weird piano player, not untalented, but weird. And he and Art started having words. And then at one point he took a tuning hammer. I guess he had brought that up to just touch it up, and he
Mm.
banged it into the piano. And fuck you, you sad motherfucker. And and Art Pepper saying, playing asshole, get off the fucking stand. It's just this whole thing went down,
Right.
and there was a bouncer who basically took Ed out of the club. And it
Okay.
really came to, is there a piano player in the house? And there I was. And I wanted to get under the table and sneak out. But there I was thrown on there. And it was really not fun. I played five and a half nights with him.
Mm.
His tunes were all kind of 32 bar tunes that were more or less the same and not very good or interesting. He'd fuck them up occasionally and then yell at me.
Mhm.
He ran out of methadone on Sunday, so he was drinking straight tumblers of vodka. It was just, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, this is my first gig with a famous person, and is this
Yeah.
even what I want to do? This is like not fun. Is this what my life is going to be like? And ironically, he went to New York the next week to record at the Vanguard with Jackie Byard, and he fired Jackie Byard.
Oh my God.
So,
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
was not a nice guy.
Right.
Um, and I was in house bands that brought soloists in, and I'd have to, you know, play their book, whatever that meant. So I got a lot of nice experience. But that gig was, and I heard a bootleg recording of it, and I wasn't really that good. I mean, really, I was what, 19 or 20? I mean, I wasn't, I mean, now they're 19 or 20-year-olds who are incredibly accomplished. But back then, it was just, I mean, it was okay. It was swinging, but nothing really all that great. I was just learning, really. So I had a lot of trial by fire experiences. And I also paid a lot of dues. I mean, I backed singers, I wrote arrangements, I played in the Catskills, I played parties and weddings and restaurants, and like 6-hour duo gigs for $25 and after hours gigs. And so when I'm playing in a beautiful concert hall in Europe or at the Village Vanguard, I am very conscious of how far I've come, and I'm very appreciative. I don't take it for granted. And
Yeah.
there are a lot of great musicians who get shot out of a cannon at 21 or 25, and they never look back. The world was different, you know.
Yeah.
In I write a lot in my book about the late 70s and early 80s in New York, and like everybody was just another guy looking for a gig, whether it was Art Blakey or you or
Yeah.
Art Farmer or Sam Jones. And then in around 82 or 3, two big things changed. AIDS, which was the end of the party for the gay community, and then the beginning of this institutionalization of jazz. Wynton Marsalis, I would probably be, and the kind of Young Lions,
Mhm.
where you have albums by, young artists, and you see, clothes by Giorgio Armani and
Yeah. Yeah.
publicist, blah, blah. It all kind of changed. And then this boom in jazz education. When I went to New England Conservatory in 75, there was NEC, Indiana, North Texas,
Mhm.
Berkeley.
Right.
Eastman had a graduate degree in composition only, but that was kind of the places that acknowledged jazz. And
Yeah.
now every community college has jazz. Every conservatory has jazz.
Right.
And the teaching pool has gotten very winnowed down. We have a lot of academics who got a bachelor's, master's, doctorate in jazz, teach jazz, but they never played jazz. They just know how to put this together with this and learn it in 12 keys.
Yeah.
So, a place like NEC or, any of those, they have artist teachers, people who are actually out here doing it. And,
Right.
but there are a lot of state schools and smaller schools that, have very well-meaning people, but these are not people with life experience playing this kind of music. So I think in the early 80s, all of that began to change. Um, and jazz competitions, the Monk competition,
Yeah. Sure.
and then the Herbie, the Monk Institute, now the Herbie Hancock Institute,
Mhm.
all this, yeah, and I think, I've taught some of the baddest young pianists ever, pretty much all of them, seems like, and uh, I mean, it's incredible what
Yeah.
these people are doing at such a young age, how gifted they are. But they've had opportunities of summer jazz camp and YouTube videos and jazz piano teachers starting when they were 13, and all that kind of stuff. And it's just, I'm not saying it's better or worse, but it's just different now.
Yeah.
And there are younger, like under 40 musicians who I think are absolutely here to stay, and I love them. Uh,
Right.
but I can't say that about all of them for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely a different path, I guess. Now, like that Pepper, did that when you did the Art Pepper thing, did that help to elevate you in some way in terms of your status, or it was just a one-off thing?
Oh, it was a gig in Dayton, you know.
So it
Uh,
was really Art Farmer who was the guy then for you, right?
well, actually, at Bradley's, uh, I lived a half a block from Bradley's in the Village, and
Yeah.
it was the place for piano and bass duos, and I used to go down there almost every night,
Hmm.
and I'd pester people to let me sit in. Jimmy Rolls would let me sit in, or
Yeah, sure.
Kenny Barron, Tommy Flanagan was really nice.
Hmm.
And then finally, somebody said to Bradley, "Why don't you give the kid a gig?" You
Yeah.
know, and I was 22 or something. I was very young. But Bradley liked me, and I had the very good sense to hire Sam Jones. And by the end of the first set of 24 sets in a week, I really discovered what swing is. I just was able to understand exactly where he was putting the time, exactly where my time was fitting in there. I mean, he had perfect time, Sam Jones, perfect time. Little
Love
bit
Sam.
of an edge, never rushed,
Hmm.
all the notes, no problem. Any substitute you could think of, he had it.
Hmm.
And he became my mentor. And I played with his quintet, his 12-piece band, and Sam was a very universally beloved musician. When we would play or when he'd play at Bradley's, you'd see basses parked in every corner. Everybody loved this guy.
Yeah.
And he died in his early 50s. Really
Right.
sad. But once I was playing with Sam, that was cred. If Sam likes the kid can play. And so
Hmm.
one night he had told Art Farmer, who was looking for a band, he said to Art Farmer, "Why don't you come in and hear the kid?" And I was pretty savvy, and so I ended up playing a couple of tunes that I knew were in Art's book.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he hired me, and I played my first 2 weeks with him in August in Detroit, out on 8 Mile Road, and in 1978, 78 or 9, that was a pretty rough place to be.
Mm.
And he hired two guys that were recommended to him that were not a very good rhythm section. And I've always been pretty honest. And at the end of the 2 weeks, I said, "Art, I really love your music and all that, but if this is the band that you're going to keep, I think I'm going to have to step out."
Wow.
And he said, "Well, who would you choose?" So I started putting bands together for him, and he was living in Austria, so I would kind of contract band, and the band changed over time, but
Sure.
that was my first, back then a gig with Art Farmer meant 20 weeks of work a year. Meant a lot of, it was a real gig, and um, so I learned how to be a good bandmate. He had a great book. I learned about that. Uh, I did a record with him and Joe Henderson. Joe Henderson hired me. That was 10 years of that. Then the word got, it just kind of
Right.
snowballed. And I mean, it was a great time being in that sideman pool from all of my 20s into my 30s. But I just began the crossfade into being a band leader.
Yeah, cool. So like just to wrap things up a little for you, the what do you have going on, future projects? I know you mentioned the Mick Goodrick thing. Are you're touring soon, I believe?
Well, I'm going to Asia for a couple of concerts in August. And then I have a very busy fall from the 22nd of September to the 18th of October. I'm going to be in Europe. Some two piano concerts with my protege Sullivan Fortner,
Mm,
some couple with Enrico Rava, and a recording with him,
great.
supposedly. A lot of solo concerts. Then I come back to New York and I have my 70th birthday week October 21st at the Village Vanguard with Drew Gress and Marcus Gilmore.
Mhm.
And then I go back to Europe after that for some solo concerts and then trio. So really from September 22nd to almost the middle of November, it's like full on. And the personal exciting thing is that my partner and I, we had a second home in the Upper Pocono Mountains in Pennsylvania,
Sure.
and we
Mhm.
sold it about a month ago. It had become very Trumpy, gun rights, borderline homophobic, and
Yeah.
it was just time to leave. And we're building this kind of dream house in the Catskills, and
Oh, nice.
that should be done probably by the end of the year. So that's been a fun project, and he's going to be retiring. He's in global public health. He's going to be probably retiring in the next year or two, and um, the place in Pennsylvania was not really a place that we could see spending the rest of our time.
Sure.
And this one's going to have a big swimming pool and a
Yeah.
gym and a real music room and beautiful design and 7 acres in the woods, and we're really excited about it. We have to decide every day what kind of cabinet handles do you want, and what do you want the cable box, and it's all that stuff, but it's super fun.
Yeah.
And so we're looking forward to this kind of next phase of life where
Uh-huh.
maybe I won't take every gig that comes down the pike.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll be a little choosier. Um, and yeah, just see where it goes.
Excellent, man. Yeah, it's great. Well, the Surrounding Green, I would definitely recommend to anyone who's watching or listening, and all of your records. Silent Listening also is. I've been listening to that one a lot, and I got to tell you, I have a chance to speak with the biggest names in jazz, and this one was very special. So I really
Uh,
want to thank you, man.
Thank you. Well, thanks for asking me, and yeah, and thanks for ordering the book. And I think that'll fill in some of the gaps. But thanks for the good questions and good vibe, and yeah, great. And
Yeah,
let me know when this is live, and I'll post it.
sounds great. And I'm gonna try to get to you at the Van. I'm in New Jersey, so I'm gonna come
Yeah,
check you
that'll
out.
be a fun week. I got people coming in from Japan and California and Austria, like big Fred fans coming for the birthday week. And
Yeah, yeah.
you
It's a
know,
big deal. Yeah.
playing there is the best place to play trio in the world. It's just I'm so lucky to get to play there 2, 3 times a year. And it's not just the ghosts on the wall, it's the sound in the room, and I get to select the piano there, so it's piano I
Oh,
like.
yeah.
And yeah, well, it'd be nice to meet you in person, so I hope that happens.
Absolutely. Very good. Have a wonderful rest of the day, man.
All right, thanks so much.
Thank you. Good talking.
Bye.